I know you feel this.
Alright, we're back. Episode 16 of Grizzled Veterans. With your host, Jason Rose. That's me. And over here on the other side, Donovan Oziak.
You did a good job, Donovan. I let Donovan take over my introduction duties for the day. And you let me know in the comments underneath here whether you did a good job or you want me to take those over.
Honestly, I just emulated you anyway, so...
I always had a little flair for the dramatic.
I was going to sing again, but I don't have a song in my head right now, so...
No.
Maybe halfway through the episode.
Has your singing voice come back?
Oh, no, I'm singing good these days again.
What are you singing?
Well, I don't have a song in my head right now. But I've been actually making a conscious effort to get back in my studio to work on some music projects. So I did a little performance a few weeks ago, which was the first time I performed live with my full electronic set in a long time. So
How'd that go?
It went great, actually, considering that my buddy Starsky and I played together. We practiced by ourselves leading up to the show and we played together but hadn't practiced together at all. And we pulled it off. It was great. And we got it was just a friend's party that we played at, but went over great.
Nice.
Yeah, felt good.
Donovan's a musician.
I dabble.
You dabble. Anyway, lots of news. I think we'll get into it. We're just coming off recording our Bioshock Infinite spoiler cast. If you haven't listened to that,
make sure you play Bioshock Infinite. Yeah.
Hopefully
play the game first.
Oh yeah, hopefully you've subscribed to us on iTunes, so it should be in your queue automatically. But if it isn't, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Grizzled Veterans on iTunes. Just search it in the podcast iTunes store. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
Anyway, lots of news for the next gen. I guess we're finally getting the details on what Microsoft is planning on doing.
Finally announced when they're going to do their announcement. May 21st is the big day.
Supposedly. It's not even... Is it official?
It's official.
Oh, yes, that's right. The hashtag Xbox reveal.
Yeah. And they've got stuff on the Xbox dashboard and all this kind of stuff. So Spike TV is going to be showing it. They're going to be showing it on Xbox Live. Whatever.
Other than we don't know any details, so we can.
It's all speculation still.
That's right.
They haven't really clarified on anything except to say that it's highly likely it's going to have an always online function of some type.
Yeah, and that's coming more and more to the forefront. How that plays in, we don't know, but that component is going to be there.
Yeah,
I think we say that for 99% certainty.
The only thing I'm worried about that is it going to affect gameplay? Like, is it going to be a matter of, like, you have to be connected to be playing your game?
That's the thing. The examples shown are that you really can't do it any other way.
Yeah.
That if it's always online console, and making that a requirement for games, because that's the only reason you do it.
Yeah. But
then it's going to affect gameplay because internet is going to go down. It's inevitable.
That's what I'm saying. What if you're in the middle of a boss battle and the internet goes down?
I mean, we could sit here and talk about this for a half hour.
We're going to talk about it after the announcement, actually.
Yes, but for now, let's talk about things we hope this conference could show.
Well, I hope that they clarify these major issues, because there's so much negative press surrounding this console right now that I'm having a hard time getting excited about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way.
I actually tweeted Xbox the other day and I said, you guys better have something really special up your sleeves, because there is an army of Xbox users getting ready to jump ship. And that's not me making shit up.
You see that everywhere.
Every forum that I read regarding this stuff, every time there's a rumor or something like that, I see all these comments from people that say, I'm an Xbox user, but everything I'm reading is making me want to buy PS4 first.
Well, that's because they're not even part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think a big mistake, they've lost a lot of the mind share right now. So it's up to them to knock it out of the park, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible.
Well, me too. I mean, I've been playing Xbox,
and I think
for ages.
If anyone can do it, it's Microsoft. But I just don't know what they're going to come out with that's going to trump what the PlayStation 4 announcement has done so far. Obviously, they're going to show the box, okay?
Well, obviously,
and they're going to show everything. They're going to come out with price. They're going to come out. I think they're going to come out with release date too.
I think what they're going to not do is. I think they're gonna obviously give us specs. They're gonna show us the box really quick. I think they're only gonna show us a few games because they're only doing this for an hour.
I know.
This is what worries me. The fact that it's only an hour.
I know
long.
that. An hour's not a long time.
No, so that's a lot of information they're gonna.
And even the stuff that it's come to light that they will have a share function. They will have things that the PS4 has already shown.
Right.
And right now, that's all redundant. That's not going to win anybody over.
No, because it's not news.
So let's get off the doom and gloom. What do you want to see from the next Xbox?
I want to see...
And this announcement.
I want to see... I guess I can't say something specific, but basically, I want to come away from this thing excited and wanting this box.
Yeah, but what's going to do that for you?
I've heard that Microsoft has been hiring new studios for exclusive content, hopefully. So maybe they've got some surprises up their sleeves as far as some exclusive content. I think, unfortunately, it's very safe to say that they're probably going to show Forza, Halo, and possibly Gears of War, and I really think that would not be the best thing for them to do. You just basically summed it up right there.
I'm sorry, that does not get me excited.
No, and what are they going to do? They can't show Destiny because Sony's already done that.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like this announcement, this presser, whatever, is going to be a month later than it should have been.
They're fighting an uphill battle.
I think they've been scrambling to catch up since the Sony announcement because I really feel that Sony must have surprised them with that, like the specs and everything. So I feel like this really should have happened in April when they originally the rumors were saying it was going to be.
Now, do you think they've gone back to the drawing board to up the power?
I think that's a distinct possibility. I don't
know.
I think that they definitely are maybe like as far as RAM and stuff like that goes. I don't think they're making as far as going back to the drawing board. That's kind of an extreme term.
No, you can't. It's way too late.
I mean, that's no. But I do think that the fact that this is happening as late as it is a very strong indicator that they are changing something with the hardware. As far as
we'll see. So basically, what you're saying is Xbox needs to show some games that.
Absolutely, because Sony has come out of the gate saying we are the gamers system, right? And that is their selling point right now. And a lot of people feel like Microsoft is going to focus heavily on the multimedia, and that's one thing. I think maybe they're going to try to go for this. We're the entertainment box. I'm hearing some people suggest that there's going to be. I mean, this is nothing big, but multi-tiered pricing schemes based on either Xbox Live subscription or possibly tie-ins to cable companies, where you get a sweet deal on your cable plan because you got an Xbox.
Yeah, and try to amalgamate everything and roll everything into one. I mean, because they're not going to get rid of Xbox Live, but they're going to build on the integration with everything.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not interested in most of that stuff.
No, and okay, well, basically what I want, I don't want to get into what I don't want. What I do want is I want games. These consoles are game systems first to me, and they always will be.
Yeah.
When I want to watch TV, I'll use something else. It's nice to have Netflix. It's nice to have, these multimedia applications, but honestly, that's not what I use these or
and I mean, I'm not in a majority, but my PC is hooked up to my computer, so all of these things that they're trying to add into the box are things that I've got on my TV already anyway.
Sure, there's a device out there that could probably do it better. And when I say games, Halo, Gears, and Forza will not do it for me.
Well, no.
As a matter of fact, Gears and Halo just came out, so putting another sequel out of them, I'm sure people may jump on board for that. But for someone that is looking for games and something new, Like, to me, that's tone deaf to me. I want to see something completely new. I want to see new IPs. I want to see them take a chance on games.
Me too.
Like, appeal to me as a gamer, make me want to be interested.
I would say with almost 100% certainty that at least Halo and Forza are going to get shown.
I guess, but...
And I don't really, like, I'm a Halo fan, but I want something new too.
Yeah, like, is that all they have?
Like
seriously.
As far as they've got other exclusives, but like, say, like Mark of the Ninja, like, what's that team?
Yeah, but Klee was their only that's their only exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft.
So I mean, like, I really don't know. I mean, the guys behind Castle Crashers are multi-platform.
I'm hoping. I don't know. We can sit here and speculate. I want them to appeal to me as a gamer, and they need to come out with something new that shows that. I understand the rumors. You know, a lot's going to be shown for Kinect. Truth be told, I don't care what they tell me. Kinect's never going to sell me on it.
Well, and the other thing I really want to know about is this whole used game stuff. That all the rumors going around about that.
See, and this is the thing. Like, you can tell by the tone of our conversation right now that we're really approaching this with kid gloves, and I think a lot of people are doing this because they're just. You know, whether it's the online always thing that has everyone on guard, it's the fact that, you know, it's a cable box. They're thinking about this as an entertainment box first, not a gamer's thing.
Yeah.
What are these things? These are gaming consoles. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to buy an Xbox to watch TV. I never will do that.
There's far too much negativity surrounding this box right now.
And honestly, it's like, I was listening to guys that know a hell of a lot more than me. Do you understand the hurdles that you have to climb to be a part of the cable industry and wrap in current subscriptions with other? It's far too convoluted.
Well, and that's,
it's way too. It's too in depth. It's too confusing. And on top of that, you have to reach out to cable subscribers everywhere.
Yeah, and that's, well, I mean, this is sort of connected but sort of separate. But it's another reason why, say, something like Game of Thrones, you can't download right off the HBO site because they're also tied into cable companies and things like that. Mm-hmm. So the more in bed you get,
there's so many different hurdles to climb that are individual to each channel and da-da-da. But listen, like, I don't care about TV on my home console.
When I turn on my Xbox and I got like 3 windows before I even get to my game section, you know what I mean? Like, that's
like, get out of my way. I know.
There's advertisements for things I have no interest in.
Look, I'm going to be watching it, and I'm going to watch it with bated breath.
I'm going to book the day off to watch it, but at the same time,
I'm going to be as objective as possible.
Yep.
But I'm also doing. It's inevitable that people are going to compare.
Of course, it is.
And that's the thing. All I know is Xbox has a hell of a hurdle to climb right now to seem unique and not be redundant with a lot of their features.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think the PS4 blew the doors off with the games that they shown.
No.
But at the same token, this isn't everything. E3, they're going to have a ton, and I mean major franchises. So
I think E3 is going to be Sony's big ticket this year.
Well, both of them though. Which, I mean, I guess we can leave the Xbox topic, can we? Or do you have
because we're gonna.
Which jumps into our other thing with Nintendo choosing not to be a part of the main press conference thing at E3 this year.
Yeah. My initial reaction to that was meh, because honestly, the last few E3 press events from Nintendo,
especially, well, last year's was bad.
Yeah.
Only and the reason it was so bad, it actually wasn't a horrible presser, but the fact that they were releasing a brand new console, and they should have stolen the show.
Yeah.
They didn't.
No.
No one was stellar, but Nintendo should have been, and that makes their failure all the more prevalent.
And I just find that, like, I've got issues with Reggie because I think he's a terrible public speaker.
I know. But it's about the content.
No, but I mean, when you're talking to an audience as big as watches these press conferences, he is the driest, smuggest mofo.
He's pretty smug.
He's like, I am the king of the fucking world, and Nintendo is top of the hill. Yeah, and I just like, he talks slow, and he sounds like he's reading off a card, which he probably is anyway.
He doesn't come off as natural.
But I find most of the Nintendo presenters come off really dry.
Well, they have a Nintendo way to do it.
Okay, fine, but I mean, like, Iwata, as hard as he tries.
Well, now he's taken over of. He's the CEO of North American Management as well. Because Okay, let's just get to the brass tacks. Between January and March, the Wii U sold 500,000 units total, which is abysmal. That's horrible. Isn't a lot of trouble, okay? I know you said meh, like it's not a big deal. To me, this is a huge deal. They're
from like an entertainment, like
they're foregoing so much mind share, and basically to me, this is an act of throwing your hands in the air and saying, well, we can't compete with Microsoft and Sony this year, so we're just not even going to bother. We're not even going to participate.
Well, they are doing like
okay, they're going to be there, of course.
They're going to be still in the Nokia theater.
The fact that they're not,
but they're not inviting press. They're
that's
only inviting.
That's your Walmarts, your games spots, your
and game developers,
and
stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's distribution channels, but they're not. When you have the attention, now they think their Nintendo Directs do this, but again, the people that are paying attention to Nintendo Directs is not a global audience.
No,
it's Nintendo fans. You already have them sold. You're just feeding them more information. Yeah. So it's sort of tone deaf, honestly, and it's really troubling that they don't think that they need to appeal and sell to the global audience in the year, which E3 has become. Like, well, yeah, E3's always been a big deal, but in the last
few years,
5 years, I suppose, it's gotten bigger. And yes, they'll say, your average gamer isn't aware of it, but they are now. They know what E3 is.
Yeah.
They're paying attention. That's where the big announcements come. And the fact that Nintendo's not even participating.
TV pays attention to
That's right.
E3.
Like, channels that generally don't follow games are at E3 following these conferences. They're getting mainstream approach. And I just don't think you can give that up.
No,
as a huge, especially with how much trouble the Wii U's in.
And I agree with in that sense. It's a huge deal. I think the reason I say meh is because I've been so underwhelmed by the last couple of pressers, and I don't.
Well, to be fair to Nintendo, I've been underwhelmed by a lot of them lately.
Yeah.
Especially last year's, they were all bad. But Nintendo should have been amazing.
For me is the Wii Music one,
which is horrible. Actually, I want to jump back into the Microsoft just super briefly. What I don't want to see, I know I only was talking about what I do want to see. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see celebrities
and kids
and like, you know what I mean?
I don't think they have enough time.
Professional music acts. I don't want to see any of that shit.
It's an hour long. They don't have time for that shit.
Yeah, but the minute they put those on, they lose all credibility. I'll shut it off. Yeah. I'm not even joking.
Like, I don't think with an hour time limit that they have enough time to do frivolous things.
Well, that's
like
good.
That.
Maybe that'll work in their
fingers crossed. I mean, like, holy shit.
But I really think this whole thing of Nintendo not participating at E3 is it's a big deal, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
I guess it remains to be seen when we actually get to E3, like, because they are still going to be there to see,
but they're not going to be a part of the conversation. Well, the people on the show floor will,
yeah.
But all people are going to be talking about is the major press conferences. And like last year...
Well, let's face it. I mean, with Microsoft and Sony both bringing out their systems, and I mean, okay, fine. I think personally that this May 21st thing is too close to E3, but whatever. That's besides the point at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of thunder
to lose, and you're giving up the mind share. But yes, I mean, it's hard to counter the reveal of the true next gen systems, but. To honestly sit there,
that's funny. The true next.
No, but it is
system.
because the Wii U is not just next gen. I know people sit there and tell you, "Oh, it's time," but it's not. It's been dictated by time because the systems past have always been relatively equal.
Yeah.
Yes, there's marginal differences, but we've never seen a system release that is 7-year-old tech passing off as new.
Yeah.
That's never happened before.
Now, I do think that we're going to see more out of the Wii U. And it hasn't reached its full potential. And I think part of that has to do, like, tech spec wise, it's set up a lot differently than the other systems as far as the way that the RAM and the CPU work.
Sure, but in many ways, the Wii U still isn't as powerful as 360 or PS3, which is crazy. But we've gone over this. This is redundant. Yeah. But bottom line is, third parties are running away in droves. They're not participating, and it's quicker. This is not N64, GameCube, 3DS era. Like, 3DS had problems, but 3DS had no competitors.
Yeah.
No one ever
3DS is now getting. Well, I mean.
Yeah, but all it lacked was it was a little too expensive, and it didn't have any games. So they released games, people bought it. This is different. Like, the Vita was not really a super threat because they were coming off the thunder of the DS.
Yeah.
The Wii U is facing Dreamcast doomsday scenario.
Well, now they've completely flipped the way that they're marketing it too, right?
I'm telling you, everyone thinks, oh, this is the same scenario as 3DS. It is not the same. It is not the same. Games are not going to save the Wii U right now. They need to completely change their message.
Well, that's what they need, yeah. And then I think they started to do that.
And when I say games, I mean Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong and Smash Brothers. These games alone will not save the Wii U.
Do they change the name? Should they change the name?
Finally, fucking Iwata acknowledged that the fact that a lot of people sat there and thought the Wii U was just a peripheral.
Yeah.
I've been saying this. We, as a matter of fact, have been saying this before it released. And I said this. They were going to have problems with the average people because they were counting on the Wii audience coming over when they don't understand that half of the Wii audience are just casual people that bought it.
Well, yeah, because they bought the balance board and they bought the other thing.
The Wii U to them is, this is just
another peripheral.
The same thing. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And thank God he acknowledged it because I've been saying this and I knew it was a problem.
Yeah.
Because not only
do you think that they might change the name of the system?
I had a conversation with the guy. I actually think that they're going to have to, in a year and a half to 2 years' time, I think they're going to actually have to release a new console that is backwards compatible with the Wii U, and it's going to have to be completely new because they're going to get so left behind. Oh, I know Nintendo fans are jumping down the throat right now, and I really don't care, but I care.
It's the truth.
Like, I care about Nintendo, and I balance back and forth between do what I prefer Nintendo as a software only company, or do I want them to be a part of the industry to keep innovation and the Nintendo fresh feeling in it? I don't know, but all I know is the gaming landscape is better with Nintendo in it, and the Wii U is not going to do it.
No, and I don't want to see Nintendo disappear, and I don't want to see them stop making consoles either. I mean, I'm still kind of sad that Sega ended up...
Oh, I'm destroyed that Sega did it, but Sega killed themselves. Nintendo is not Sega.
No.
They're actually smarter in many ways.
And that's not where I was going with that. But
I think a lot of people... I want to, before we leave Sega, that we're not doing them justice. Sega is the most innovative company we have ever seen in console. They were so ahead of their time. They were so far ahead that it actually hurt them with the Dreamcast. Online, PDA controllers. There were so many innovations that Sega wrapped into all their systems for the most part that it hurt them.
Now, we saw this stuff come up about the Pluto recently.
Yeah.
That would have been after Dreamcast or before Dreamcast? I didn't read enough.
I don't really know, to be honest. I didn't pay enough attention. It looks like a modified Saturn.
It kind of does.
But anyway, my honest feeling is that once the new consoles come out, is that the Wii U is going to just get buried. No third parties are going to make games for them.
Well,
they'll come out with the odd first party game, but that is not going to be enough to allow the console to survive.
The life of
and it's going to do worse than the N64 and the GameCube. And in today's environment, like, I think the N64 and GameCube did like 40-45 million in terms of consoles sold globally. That is not enough. That's not enough now. It's not. And they're going to be so left behind with tech that they're going to have to look at a new console.
Probably.
Which will only convolute the message even more.
Yeah, they
I knew from the beginning that the Wii U was a blunder. In name, in power, and in everything. It confuses the message, and the fact that they're not participating in E3 is telling.
Yeah.
It's telling. Nintendo Directs are not enough.
No, and I think that's valid.
And I look at some of the games
they're going to air
I'm
Direct.
interested in X. I'm interested in Bayonetta 2. I'm interested in other things, but I don't think those will ever sell me on a Wii U.
I mean, that's only a couple of games.
Yeah.
You can't buy a system for a handful of games.
And the thing is, like, I look at even the most recent Nintendo Direct, there's nothing. These are just old games. No, but they're all old games redone. Like, nothing about that. I want something new, and it's not there. It's like, do all they have left now is nostalgia? Well, hey, you remember this? Remember when you did this in this game, and now we're showing it to you again?
Well, I think that's kind of the reaction that this Link to the Past 2 is getting.
And some Nintendo fans throw this in my face. You know, they show, Sony showed all old franchises like Killzone stuff. Okay, you have to remember that Killzone is 1 generation old.
Yeah.
Nintendo is rehashing 20-year-old games.
Yeah.
Consistently. Yeah. These are Mario's. These have been around 25 years.
Well, and what about the fact that Pikmin 3 isn't coming out till August?
And that just continues to get delayed.
Yeah.
Is Pikmin a system seller? No. But people want to play it and people will buy it. So that's a good insulator for the rest of your games. And it's not there. They got no games coming out. And their launch lineup was weak.
Well, and the fact that Pikmin 3 was supposed to be launch window.
Honestly, dude, they're in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot more trouble than people want to let on, because you know why people think they're fine is because they think it's still once they get the games, just like I said, Nintendo will pick up steam again. It's not going to happen. Smash Brothers didn't save the N64 or the GameCube. Sorry, Mario didn't save the GameCube. It was still last place.
Yeah. No, I think that we're at that point now where, like, the once mighty king is gonna have to settle for her 3rd place.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about the example right now. Like, the PS3 and the 360 did not have strong launches, but what saved them is that their predecessor still had strong lineups, carrying up to launch and carrying through. That the systems echoed the predecessors. The Wii U didn't benefit from the Wii because the Wii was dead for nearly a year. It had no games. Yeah. So the Wii U came out fresh and it had such a weak launch. And this is the thing.
That trend is carried over into the Wii U now. And
that's right. And even when the PS4 came out, the PS4 says it's going to have the strongest lineup, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all this before. Right. Whether it does or does not
launch
is irrelevant. Yeah. But the fact is, the PS3 is going to have games out the wazoo up to the PS4 launch and beyond.
Yeah.
Like, Gran Turismo 6 is coming out. Is it 6? No, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Is it 6? Yeah. I mean, that's announced. That's a PS3 game.
Yeah.
Last of Us, June. These are Beyond, Two Souls, PS3 game. These are huge exclusives coming out. And whether they sell huge or not, it matters, but it really doesn't. The fact is, those games are there. It's not like they left their faithful out to starve. You know, here, buy this new console because you got nothing else to play. It's just another option.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's in trouble, and that's sad that they're not going to be E3, and I think they're going to be giving up a lot more than they think they are.
Well, remains to be seen. So,
but I'm excited for the Xbox launch, Xbox reveal. Let's see it. Xbox
you know what?
On.
I'm not falling for that one.
I got a question that kind of ties into what we were just, leading up to next generation. I just kind of wrote this down.
I'll put on my wizard hat and hopefully answer.
What gaming trope from this generation would you like to see go away next generation?
Trend? Or whatever it is.
Mechanic, mechanic. Something you find annoying in current gen style games that you'd like to see disappear.
Honestly, I have no problem with any mechanics because I think under the right light and under the right developer, almost anything could be made interesting, whether it's a movie style game, whether it's QTs, they can all be interesting and non-intrusive. It's the trend of releasing day one patches and unfinished games. Games have always had bugs, but it seems in the second half of this generation, games have been more buggy than ever.
Yeah.
And
I realize they're getting more complicated at the same time.
Yeah, but it's not an excuse. With bigger teams and bigger budgets and longer development cycles, how does that equal more bugs to me? It doesn't. And it discourages me from buying games day one.
Yeah.
So I suppose that is the biggest thing. Everything else I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I love the way games are right now and the fact that there's an indie scene and even mobile games, even though they don't appeal to me, they're there and they're there to give a balance out to the AAA things and not go entirely one way. There's I don't know, gaming's extremely interesting, but it is adapting.
I definitely have one thing.
Go ahead. Sorry,
away. Stick waggling.
What in
shake your stick to get away from this part, or you got grabbed by a guy, waggle the stick. I fucking hate waggling my stick.
I hate waggling a Wiimote. I don't know about the analog stick.
Waving a Wiimote in the air, you can't see me, audience, but that's a lot easier than just moving your thumb. Maybe it's like the joint in my thumb or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess some
find
current action games overdid it. Like, an enemy will grab you and you gotta hammer that analog stick to get free. Or
even
something.
like Metal Gear Rising does it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get grabbed by certain enemies and you gotta waggle to do the spring out of it or whatever.
Honestly,
right?
I got big hands.
I'd rather just do a button tap.
I actually think I'm gonna break the controller sometimes when I do it.
Well, I think that I've put undue wear on some of my analog sticks.
Undue wear and tear.
Because of
that's a funny thing.
I actually do it with my right hand.
I do.
Now
yeah, I go crazy
because it's easier to do it and more comfortable than trying to do it with my left hand. So that's just. No, I wanted to just kind of throw that out there.
Nitpicking.
Yeah. No more stick waggling.
Like QTE's fine. Stick waggling. No.
QTEs can be handled.
I have no problem
in a good way, and I don't necessarily have a problem with QTEs. Like Metal Gear Rising does QTEs pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
Just the stick waggling, I want to see go away.
Yeah, all right.
I find it uncomfortable, and
let's review some games.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just realized who those two are. They, well, at least she, invented the technology that allows the city to float.
Giant balloons.
Quantum particles, suspended in space-time at a fixed height.
So, not giant balloons?
But the thing is, my book said they disappeared several years ago.
I told you they'd come.
No, you didn't.
Right. I was going to tell you they'd come.
But you didn't.
But I don't.
You sure that's right?
Something tells me they're not exactly what they appear.
I was going to have told you they'd come?
No.
The subjunctive?
That's not the subjunctive.
I don't think the syntax has been invented yet.
It would have had to have been.
Had to have had been. That can't be right.
They seem to want to help.
They seem to be out of their minds.
Odd, isn't it?
What's odd?
The fact that we sometimes...
Finish each other's sentences?
Exactly.
It would be odder if we didn't.
How do you suppose they manage that?
I'll get back to you after I figure out the floating city bit.
All right. So, even though we did our spoiler cast for Infinite, which you should check out, I've already mentioned that. Intimate with Infinite.
Yes.
I think let's do a nice review of the game in terms of gameplay aspects and some things that might have changed. Let's take a critical approach rather than a dissecting the narrative approach.
Okay.
Donovan, why don't you start? What did you think about Bioshock Infinite?
Well, like, again, first-person shooters aren't always my first choice of game, but having just come off Bioshock 1, I wanted to play through Bioshock 1 before I played Infinite. So.
That's crazy. I've been preaching out your ear the whole time. Just like the prophet. Like Comstock. You gotta play Bioshock.
And yes, you do.
Brother.
You really
come into the fold.
So, I would have to say, from a gameplay standpoint, that I think I actually enjoyed the gameplay a little bit more in Bioshock 1.
It's not the first time I've heard that, actually. And I think we touched on it in the past blog, and the last one, actually. And I think that comes from the fact that Bioshock is much more closed. A corridor, have you. Rapture is more, claustrophobic.
Yes.
Whereas Infinite's much more open. Columbia as a world is bigger.
Yeah, and
okay, I wouldn't say it's bigger. It's just it's more open. There's skies, there's skylines.
This ties into the story too. But this game is a little bit more focused on you've got a gun, shoot it. And yes, you've got your vigors, and that obviously plays a very
honestly
important part,
I disagree. I think it's no more different than the original Bioshock in terms of its balance between plasmids and weapons. I think it's relatively the same. Personally.
I just felt like this one felt more like a traditional shooter than the first game did in the way.
And again, in our past episode, I posed this question hypothetically because I hadn't finished the game yet, but I'd heard many people felt that the game would play better if it wasn't a first-person shooter.
Yeah, and we touched on that.
Do you agree now that you've finished?
I would like to see the next Bioshock be a third-person game, based on.
No, I don't. See, I don't know if a full third person or an over-the-shoulder view. I think personally an over-the-shoulder view would work better.
Yeah, like a Resident Evil style sort of.
Yeah, but with better controls, obviously.
Yeah.
To take, because at certain points cover was very important, and it's very difficult to take cover in it's very difficult to take cover in a first-person perspective without a dedicated button.
Right.
A button that hugs a wall.
Right.
And go ahead.
Well, if they did it sort of in an Uncharted style, but I mean,
But with the third person, you know when you're running towards cover and the animation takes over and you slide cover.
Yeah.
It does it automatically. Whereas first person, you can't.
not really.
It doesn't...
no. You got a duck button.
Yeah, but it's very hard to take the camera and the control away from the player because you are that camera.
Yeah.
You know, and that's... How do you just push a guy up against? And how do you know when you're in cover?
Right.
Because all you have is... There's no feet or legs to show or body to show that you're in cover.
Right.
Now, my initial impressions of the way the game played were shit. I thought the game... Now, I don't... When I say shit, I mean average, okay?
Yeah.
Like, just pass. I was like, it's a passing thing, but I find there actually is depth there. The harder difficulties you play forces you to specialize.
Yeah.
And the vigors come into play. You can play like a Vanguard in Mass Effect with the charge vigor, for instance, and it gives you invulnerability. You know, you max a shotgun. You just take guys down, and it recharges your shields. Or you can play multiple different ways. I don't think the gameplay is its strongest point, but I also don't think it's its weakest point, like many people say.
Based on what you just said, maybe not enough people experimented with different
The thing
styles.
is, you have to play the harder difficulties to understand this.
Yeah.
And I really feel... I think this is a problem with many games that people have, is that games don't really excel in
Lots
the
of
game.
hand-holding.
That's the problem. People want it to be handheld. They want easy.
Yeah.
And I really don't think games find their footing until you're forced to be in difficult situations.
Tension.
That's right.
You know.
And I'm playing 1999 mode to get the platinum right now, and I'm having a way better time actually playing the game now, and I'm thinking through battles
more tactically.
but at the same time I don't have to be super, super cautious. It's forcing me to just be better at the game.
Right.
I actually found this, without getting too much off the rails, I find this in a lot of games actually. Like Mass Effect 2, for instance. I love the game, but I didn't actually fall in love with it until I played it on Insanity.
Yeah, normal.
As a Vanguard.
Normal level is getting too easy.
You find that's the way the developers intended you to play the game, with cover and, you know, not running around willy-nilly like an idiot and the chicken cut off, because you're never going to get killed. The threat of death makes you play the game properly.
Right.
And it's hard to judge a game when you play it on easy, gameplay-wise.
Right. And, I mean, you can say what you will, but, I mean, I don't know.
I understand, because you borrowed the game.
Yeah, I borrowed the game. I wanted to play through it, you know, relatively quickly, but without, you know, my play style is to hunt down as many collectibles as possible.
But I mean, to me, in a gameplay aspect, the inevitable comparisons were with Dishonored from last year, and I know you thought I was crazy when I said that. Dishonored plays better. It does play better, but it's also different.
Right.
It takes a stealth approach, but it's obviously, you know, the first person thing, but you have so many more tools at your disposal. And but even then, Dishonored isn't perfect.
Right.
I suppose I could agree with the sentiment that a third-person perspective would have benefited the gameplay better, but at the same token, I don't think the gameplay was awful in Infinite.
No, and I mean, it was
above average. Above average.
And I mean, there are a lot of things that I didn't even try out yet, like as far as experimenting with vigors and trying the different combinations.
And which I'm doing now, and I'm actually finding very satisfying.
Yeah, so there you go. I think this is a game that really sort of demands multiple playthroughs.
I really think it lends itself to a second playthrough to understand not only the story, but better grasp the gameplay elements as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely plan on playing it on a harder difficulty on my second
I encourage everyone to. If it's a game you love, and I know it's done very well, and a lot of people have an affinity for Bioshock, one playthrough on normal doesn't do the game justice.
No.
I really don't think it does. I don't know.
But
let's get to
summarize.
No, but the game's excellent. It's amazing. I've seen 10 out of 10s. I don't think I'd give it a 10, but I can understand where they came from. My initial reaction, again, for our feelings on the narrative and story, which we're not going to go into here, listen to our spoiler cast. But the ending was amazing. A 10 out of 10 ending.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
And I actually think the narrative on the whole, if I'm judging it by a story in a game, yeah, it's pretty close to a 10 out of 10. Again, a 10's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's just an achievement in the genre.
Yeah. No, this is definitely like 9.75.
Yeah. As a game, I think it's a 9.5.
Yeah.
A 9.5. other than the gameplay element, that's the only thing that holds it back.
Yep.
But Bioshock Infinite was not without its problems. It had almost a 6-year development cycle. A lot of content was cut. We've seen from
you
early
saw some pretty
gameplay.
drastic changes.
Yeah.
Things
Early
that were in
gameplay trailers were completely different.
Yeah. No, and I think there's more than a few people out there that are kind of hoping some of this stuff pops up in DLC. Count me amongst them. Definitely some really cool stuff in the trailers where like Elizabeth is summoning up like a tornado and helping you.
Well, that's in the game, but it's only to show you the power.
They do it as a story element rather than a combat element, and I'd like to see that kind of stuff incorporated into the combat. I think the combat ended up not being quite as ambitious as the trailer.
I agree, and I actually think that they had to retool the game and recreate the game almost from the ground up scenario. They had many high-level people leave throughout development. I think that came to a culmination 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, which this is all building to the point that, yes, Ken Levine is a major driving factor with the narrative, and he has a vision for the game which was realized. But at the same token, there's a lot of people that are involved in this game that get no thanks. It's not all Ken Levine. This game had a lot of problems when Ken was just on the project. And
no, but I mean, also too, I think we're at that point too where Ken is the Cliffy of 2K.
Hideo Kojima for thing. I mean, he's a star, but it's just a producer came on board, and his name escapes me, and he's a superstar producer from other games and other successes.
Yeah.
And he came on board and he kicked some ass, and he put that team in order, and they punched that game out and they refined it in a year to 1.5 years, which is huge. To be honest, I've heard from other sources that this game probably still wouldn't be released without that sort of ass kicking that was given.
Well, that's great.
To Ken and things, and
like Ken's brilliant,
huge. But I think the vision got away from him, and I think a lot of people got discouraged and quit. That's what happened, because huge people quit.
Yeah.
Like writers quit, developers, like lead creative directors quit. This game had problems, but I'm just glad it released in the state. But it also gets my gears going to wonder what the initial vision for the game was. We saw in those gameplay trailers with the way. I mean, I'm not going to go through them blow by blow, but they were much different. The encounters were different.
Yeah, and I would really love to see like sort of a long making of Doc.
I would as well. I'd be supremely interested
to see how it evolved over the years.
Have you ever listened to Ken in an interview?
A little bit, yeah.
He's fascinating, actually. He's very personable, and
he's got a great personality.
IGN did an interview with him, Andrew Goldfarb, who seems to be their biggest. He's their news writer there.
Okay,
and he's their huge fan of the series, like obsessive, which is great. But he conducted an interview with Ken before the game was released, which I thought was fantastic. And they asked a lot of hard-hitting questions, and the back and forth was really compelling, and I was like, wow, I really wish more interviews with developers and creative was like this.
Yeah.
But I'd love to watch a doc, for instance, about Bioshock Infinite, because it seems there's a lot that happened there.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of drama, a lot of evolution as to how the game shaped itself over the years, like to see what got caught, see when they made the big changes regarding multiplayer, because originally the game was going to have multiplayer, and they scrapped that.
Yeah, but they scrapped that pretty early.
Well, they scrapped it like 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, where everyone all those changes were happening. No,
I can't remember.
That's what's coming to my head anyway.
Well, I'm glad they did.
Oh, me too. The game did not need multiplayer at all.
What's the Donovan Oziak review?
I'd give it a 9.5 for sure. Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
It's a great game. Don't listen to anyone that says it's overrated. It's a very, very good game.
If anything, you need to experience the story of this game.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like first-person shooters, it's worth your time to. Your brain wants to know this story.
Yeah, and it pushes a lot of envelopes and asks a lot of questions of game narrative on the whole, I think.
Certainly,
it really sets a standard, and for anyone wanting to achieve narrative standards,
I think this sets the standard for
it does set it apart. I don't think there's been a better ending in recent memory that I can recall.
You and I have talked about this. I cannot think of a game that's got a better ending than this one. I can think of games with great endings.
Yeah.
But the ones, like, to have a game that sticks with you this long.
Yeah. Well, let's move on.
Yep.
I think bottom line is play Bioshock Infinite. It's a hell of a ride.
So you recently got to do a review of a PSN exclusive.
Well, PS3, PSN, Vita, Sony exclusive, mind you.
Well, that's why I said PSN.
And I was privy to an early review copy, which I was able to get my review out relatively early, days after release, just after the embargo, thanks to a friend at IGN, Michael Robot. He lives in Kitchener, but he's friends with the team of Drinkbox Studios out in Toronto. They gave me a review code. Guacamelee.
Yeah.
You play as a luchador, and it's just tongue-in-cheek humor. It takes that really Mexican Spanish vibe and it does it to death.
It just runs with it.
A hell of a lot of humor. It's a fun game
and a lot of nods to old.
No, but
I
mean, a lot of people want to use the word Metroidvania. I personally hate that term, but it just alludes to a thing that most people know. It's old school platforming at its best. It's challenging. The combat's excellent, and it gels together extremely well. You learn moves as you go. The world opens up as you go.
And it's got a cool mechanic where you switch back and forth between...
Yeah, you learn the dead world and the living world. And that blends in through some of the platforming as well. Like some ledges and stuff will appear in the dead world.
And you kind of have to switch back and forth while you're...
I kid you not, like some of the... I platinumed it because I'm awesome. And some of the... later platforming levels where you have to unlock the things of the secret mask are super challenging. Like I haven't faced challenges like that since the 8-bit and 16-bit era.
Nice.
Like seriously, it's not easy. But it's never unfair. Right. I never felt like it was unfair. I was just and
that's what I've always said. I don't mind a good challenge in a game, but I don't like it when a game feels unfair in the challenge.
I can't wait for you to play. You're gonna be like, You'll call me up. You're like, man, this is tough. Like,
well, I mean, hey, I grew up playing Mega Man like a crazy man.
And again, it has a lot of things, allusions to Mega Man in terms of the
Crazy Man. There's a robot boss we've never seen before.
Who? Did I say Crazy Man?
No, I said Crazy Man.
Oh,
I used to play Mega Man like a crazy man.
But I love the game. It's the only thing. It's not too long, but at the same token. Yeah, I didn't want it to end, but that's a testament to how good the game was.
And for a downloadable game,
tons of charm. Honestly, like I love the game. It's a great game. I give it. I think I gave it an 8 in my review.
And I read your review that you posted on the Gamer Nation, and gotta tell you, man, it was one of the best written reviews you've done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really. And again, I hadn't. That's just me. Like I released that. I had an embargo to go by, and it was actually quite cool. It's my first ever review that I've done that had press materials to go with it, certain restrictions that were with it, deadlines. Cool. Yeah. I couldn't release it because IGN had an exclusive review to it the day before.
Okay.
So I couldn't release my review until a later date, a certain time.
Huh.
Which is quite cool. And honestly, like, not to toot my own horn, but I'll put that review up against anyone else's out there.
It's really well written.
Thank you.
Like, eloquent and just, yeah.
And I'd love to go down, and I'm really thinking about going down and doing an aftermath interview with the guys at Drinkbox Studios. I'd love to. They're in Toronto. Conduct the first ever Grizzled Veterans on-site interview.
Yeah, we got no reason not to.
And just see what their team thinks about their finished product, some of the things that they cut, what's their project next, what are they thinking about next. I'd love to do it because I'm extremely interested. I thought they did a wonderful job on this game. It's one of the best games on the PlayStation Network, and I think it's a game everyone should play.
Excellent.
It holds up against games like Outland and things like that.
I was going to say, even it seems like it shares some traits with
Dude, you'll laugh. Like, there's so many parts where it's actually quite funny. The characters, it's all text based with the conversations, right, but they're very interesting. Every character has a personality.
That's cool.
Yeah,
right on.
It's a must play. I'd recommend personally playing it on the PSN, the PS3, but it's not bad on the Vita either. It's just the controls lend itself better to the PSN.
Sure.
PS3, sorry.
I recently played the Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yes, Donovan's mad at me. I didn't get the chance to play it. And I love this game. Like I said, I did an NGN. I spearheaded an article, New Gamer Nation's favorite games of the first quarter of 2013. And there was a ton of them. My favorite of the first quarter, when I actually sat down and thought about it, was Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I haven't had more fun with the game in a really long time.
Game brings a smile to your face, man.
Yeah.
It's just a genuinely fun game to play.
So the first DLC pack, official, there was the VR missions.
Sure.
But this one's the Jetstream Sam DLC.
Right. And so I went through it the other day. Now, $10 price tag on it, which, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think most of these DLCs that
They're
come out
all
for games,
overpriced.
They're all overpriced. They're pretty much almost consistently twice as much as they should be.
Sure, but I mean, that's something we're
I mean, I looked at the file size and I was like, oh, okay, it's 2.5 gigs. It's going to be significant. But it really only took about an hour and a half to get through. Mind you, it was just as fun as the main game. You get to play as Sam, obviously, which is a little bit different. He's a little bit more brutish. So a focus on really strong attacks.
It's very smug.
Yeah, and no stealth whatsoever. I mean, you find boxes and cans and stuff, but they're really, like, you can't do any sneak attacks with him at all. A couple of negatives. It's a little short, obviously. I mentioned that. There's
Redundant.
There's no new enemies
All the same.
at all. And recycled environments as well. They're supposed to be new, but you're in a sewer for part of it, and that's just rehashing that sewer level, so to speak.
Okay.
And then you end up in the Marshall, that room, there was that room with all the columns and the blue lights and stuff.
Yes.
You get put back there again. So in that sense, I was a little disappointed that there wasn't some
Lots of
new-
recycled material, but
Yeah.
the story takes
It
place.
is a prequel.
It's basically his recruitment.
Yeah, and so I guess in a sense there shouldn't really have been any new enemies, but I was kind of hoping there would have been at least one.
Well, I mean, new content, you expect it. But was it satisfying
It
playing
was
as
fun.
Sam?
It was fun, and it was definitely satisfying. But again,
He plays
pretty
enough-
similarly,
similar but different.
but different. I mean, it uses the same Senjutsu mechanic, so when you're getting low on health, you can still resort to that. And I mean, it did present a pretty good challenge when I got to.
Is there new music?
Yes, there is at least some new music.
Okay. Well, that's fine because the
least I think-
soundtrack in the game is
Pretty
phenomenal.
sure there was some new music anyway. The fight with the chainsaw,
Oh, the Blade Wolf.
the Blade Wolf, that was actually pretty tough because I hadn't learned all of Sam's moves yet.
move.
Once I figured out how to do some of the power attacks, then it got easier. But initially it was like they don't
You
hold
finally
back.
listen to me to go into the menu to learn some of the moves. Right?
Oh, at least I know how to parry now.
Oh my!
Anyway, so yeah, it does present some decent challenge.
My young Padawan.
Yeah. But yeah, the challenge is there. The gameplay again is incredible. So
Yeah.
that has it's going.
Yeah, like
for it.
that's the thing. It's still delivering that awesome gameplay that Revengeance
Right.
did, and just under another character, which I think a lot of people really wanted to use.
Yeah.
like Jetstream Sam, a lot of people loved him.
He's a very cool
He has a
character.
really cool design. His
Yeah.
sword's cool.
Yeah. No, he's
So-
very slick. I guess the next one is going to be
Blade
Wolf.
I don't know how I feel about that, and I honestly don't know how different it's going to be.
I'm like, I'll buy this one again.
Okay.
But I might wait for this one to go on sale.
I don't think it's going to go on sale on the PS3
Why wouldn't it?
because they never sell DLC cheap.
Sure they do.
What?
You just got to be there. I mean, Resident Evil's doing a big sale right now, right?
Yeah, but
But they don't do it quite as frequently as
No,
they do
they
it on
don't.
Xbox. The Xbox does.
so what would you give Jetstream?
I'm gonna give it a
Sam?
7.5.
That's a decent score.
It's
a play.
still fun. And there is some replay value there because there are hidden.
You know,
stuff.
speaking of DLC, I bought it, but I haven't played it yet. It's the Knife of Dunwall for
Oh, okay,
Dishonored.
and that's getting great
Great
reviews.
reviews. It's actually the exact opposite. There's a lot of new content in it, and you play one of the most important characters. Honestly, guys and girls, if you haven't played Dishonored, and you're even, you're interested in the first person perspective and stealth mechanics, it came out last year, and it was a very slept on game. It's very, very underrated. It's a
Well, I don't
great
know if it's
game.
underrated because it
Honestly,
did get well reviewed.
It did, but like I don't. For instance, when I said
Underplayed, maybe.
underplayed, when I said Dishonored greater than Infinite, and here's the thing, you jumped all over me, and you had friends call me crazy,
Well-
which I understand. My tweet deserved that sort of outlandish reaction,
And I think that's partly why.
which is fine, and that's why I do these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Donovan, you should know me by now. I do things to get a reaction.
That was the whole reason I
Yes.
got it going with you.
But
Get some
now
traffic.
I also want to spark a conversation because Dishonored yes, Infinite has a phenomenal narrative, but Dishonored is no slouch either. The lore and the world created there is really good. And you really liked Infinite and you never played Dishonored. You should play it.
I'll give it a shot one of these days. But it never really, like, any of the trailers I saw, I was just like, eh.
I was the same way until I really gave the game like a hands-on. And I was like, wow, this game is pretty cool. The gameplay's excellent. Anyway, Knife of Dunwall, I'll give you my thoughts on it next episode.
Sure.
We have one more. Let's give our thoughts on Injustice before we wrap it up.
Sure.
We're huge fighting game fans.
Unfortunately, we've only just played the demo of this.
Yes, but I've been watching. Like I'm a nut on Twitch TV, and I watch the
some
streams.
tournament footage.
Yeah.
Apparently, Aquaman is pretty badass.
Yeah. There's obviously this game is early in its cycle, and they're going to support it for a while, so it's going to really receive some gameplay patches.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, there's characters that are stronger, there's characters that aren't, there's things that are stronger that aren't. I think the game, from a visual perspective, is amazing.
It looks pretty damn cool.
My one gripe I will give you, though, Donovan, is that I think the camera is... Because the stages are big, I think the camera's pulled back a little too much.
I would like to see the characters a little bit closer
it
up.
seems slightly distant.
Yeah.
And I don't. It almost seems like I'm complaining because one of my initial complaints about Street is I don't think the stages are nice enough. Like I think it needs more stages in like Street Fighter, for instance. And Injustice does an excellent job with the stages, but I would like that camera to be pulled in just a little bit more. Now it's developed by NetherRealm. Ed Boon, one of the original Mortal Kombat guys.
Yep.
He heads up this team, so it really has that Mortal Kombat vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they've changed a few mechanics to give it its own identity.
Now that sort of stopped me from picking it up because I played the demo and it's different. It's not the fighting game that I initially gravitated
you and
to.
I are not really Mortal Kombat players.
No, I never was.
And so I played the demo too, and gameplay wise, it does feel very much like a Mortal Kombat style
but
game.
they have implemented the Street Fighter mechanics of blocking by holding back. And it is a little bit more free moving. I guess the combo mechanics are similar to Mortal Kombat, but it also has Street Fighter movements in it. You know, the quarter circle forward for a fireball.
Yeah.
It's a game I'm really keeping my eye on. Like, a part of me really wants to pick it up.
So, same here. And I mean, like, I've heard that the story is quite good in the single player mode, although not quite as long as Mortal Kombat was.
But see, like, I can't play a fighting game for the story.
No, but at the same time, because of the world it takes place in, the DC characters, it's got a rich,
But unless I'm going to really dig in, story's secondary. It's something I appreciate.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a one-on-one fighting game.
That's right. Unless I want to take the time to sink my teeth in and try to be good at the game, competitively, play online, I find absolutely no reason
out of the story mode.
And I don't want to that's not a game I want to pick up.
But at the same time, I will applaud them for putting
I completely agree.
Single player
I completely
mode
agree. And Capcom, I actually respect the fact that NetherRealm's done this, and it's pushed Capcom to acknowledge the importance of story.
I'm pretty sure that the next Street Fighter game is going to have a huge story,
which is awesome because
it needs it.
It needs it, and it's like, who needs story? You know what? Street Fighter has a ton of lore, and if you read the comic books and the mangas and stuff like that, I actually recently backed my first Kickstarter, which was for the Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, which they got the funding for. They stopped Kickstarter, but it's with a bunch of guys. They did the short story Street Fighter Legacy.
Okay.
It was the trailer on YouTube, but it was awesomely done. Like the character selections were just like the guys. The guy who did Ken looks just like, he actually kind of looks like fucking Tom Cruise in real life.
Oh wow.
So and the other guy spearheading, his name is a fellow by the name of Joy Assad, and you'll know him from he's a well-known Hollywood stuntman. If you ever watched the Last Born movie, not the one with Jeremy Renner, the one with Matt Damon, the last one.
Oh, okay.
He has a fight scene in a building with an Arab fella.
Okay.
That's the guy who's heading up the Street Fighter thing, and it's one of the best fight scenes I've seen. He does like a wrist lock, and the guy does like a cartwheel in midair. It's super visceral, really gritty, and like through walls and shit. He's an amazing fighter. So these are real guys with huge training behind the Street Fighter project, and it's going to cover the the story of Akuma, Goken, Ryu, Ken, Gotetsu, their leader, and it's going to be, they're shooting it this year.
And see that again, like you said, there's such a rich background story for the Street Fighter universe.
Yes, let's get back to what we were talking about. The story
I really,
modes,
really hope that, and early indications are pointing to that happening.
And I love it because the only thing missing from, say, Street Fighter 4 is a well-fleshed... They made a half-assed attempt with those stupid beginning and ending cutscenes.
Yeah, but...
Why not make the whole thing...
In engine.
That's right.
Because the engine looks great.
Like, just make those games more interesting from a story perspective, because I tried to make this argument in fighting games before. Like, you use an avatar. You choose them for a reason, okay? On a competitive level, you choose a guy because he's the strongest character sometimes. But for the most part, people gravitate to a character that appeals to them.
Right.
And what makes the character appeal to you more? A compelling backstory, a cool... The rivalries. You'll have an affinity for, say, when you're fighting another character, like, my character hates that guy.
Right.
So I want to fight extra hard against them, and you know what I mean? It sort of gives an added dynamic to that encounter.
Extra level of adrenaline or whatever is going into
So
that.
Injustice is a game I'm definitely keeping my eye on.
Yeah.
I want to see maybe a bit more. I watched some of the gameplay. Batman is a little overpowered right now. Aquaman,
well, I think
slightly.
part of it too is that Batman's one of the easier characters to learn.
He is. He's super mobile, which a lot of characters aren't.
Yeah.
You can't really keep him out, and his combos are pretty easy to do. And it's
apparently him and Superman are the two.
No, Superman's not. No, Superman. I haven't seen anyone use him on a competitive level.
No, but apparently they're the sort of entry level as opposed to some of the more complicated characters.
I suppose, but I've seen a lot of Jokers. I've seen a lot of Batmans. Batman's the one I see winning.
Yeah.
Green Lantern's the other one I see.
I've heard that he's pretty overpowered.
The two characters that I find the most interesting, if I want to play, would be Sinestro and Black Adam. I think those characters are quite cool.
Okay.
But it's a game that, unless I'm going to have someone play with me and really get invested with it, Donovan, that I probably won't pick up.
Yeah.
It's a competition between that and Persona 4 Arena right now. And I'm leaning towards Persona 4 Arena.
I would probably lean closer to that one myself as well, just because
the graphic style.
And it's more similarities gameplay wise with what we're familiar with.
It's also supposed to be easy to pick up, which is some of the reasons why it's sort of failed on a competitive level. But I think this is going beyond the scope of our podcast because people are like, wow, this turned into a competitive gaming
fighting game. These guys in their goddamn fighting game.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, I think we can wrap this up now.
Yeah.
We've reviewed games. Is that it?
That's it. We covered a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, we did. This is 2 podcasts now. My throat is sore.
Well, hey, it's time to eat.
It is time to eat. It's always time to eat. And usually I end it by what are you making me? This time I'm cooking.
Yeah.
But again, Grizzled Veterans episode 16. Thanks to New Gamer Nation for the continued support.
Yeah, I guess gotta say, I can't tell you how cool it is to go to the website and see us on the front page.
Yeah, and we've got a ton of feedback. Our viewership's skyrocketed. We have over 6,000 followers on Twitter. If you haven't followed us, New Gamer Nation on Twitter. Visit the site www.newgamernation.com. See what we're doing over there.
It's very cool.
And we've got a lot of subscribers through iTunes through the site, and it's been all positive feedback. They like what we're talking about. So hey,
thanks guys.
Thanks.
You know, we're just here to have fun and give you the goods.
And whether you like us or you don't like us, just be a part of the conversation, because we can only get better through interacting with you.
Exactly.
Our fans. Thank you. I'm gonna cry. Oh.
As usual, all the contact information will be under the link.
Peace.
Run away, I got to get away from the pain you're driving to the heart of me. The love we share seems to go nowhere. I lost my light for a toss and turn, I can't sleep at night. Once I ran to you. things right. You need someone to hold you tight, and you think love is to pray. Baby, I'm sorry, I don't pray that way. Once I ran from you, now I'm gonna run from you. This tainted love you're giving, I give you all I got to give you. Take my tears and that's not nearly all. Tainted love, tainted love, don't touch me, tainted love. I can't stand the way you tease me. I love you, know you hurt me so. Oh, I'm gonna pack my